So hi Naz, how are you doing?
I'm well, thank you. Good to see you, Raj.
Good, thanks. So look, we've been interacting with a number of students, a number of people. Obviously, we've employed various people from different parts of the world now. And what I've noticed is that there's many talented people, men, and obviously women, young ladies who are very highly qualified, great education. And there's one of two things that they're looking at. Either they try to move to another country and try and get a job in places like the UK, US, and Europe, or they stay in their where their friends and family are. Obviously, that's the areas that they know, and they do lesser jobs. You have very qualified engineers sitting in various cities. So the idea of today is to sort of give your story, because you've got a very interesting past and obviously even present, I'm sure interesting future that you've lined up. To find out what is it that got you to the position you are. Your backgrounds are very humble, and you've done everything from DJing up to the very serious work of the Crown Prosecution Service, and obviously you've got some interesting things lined up. So just give a brief sort of background, your sort of start off, and then what got you to the lawyer part.
Of course. Raj, thank you so much for the opportunity. You're absolutely right. We were children of immigrants. We arrived in the United Kingdom with nothing, literally nothing, and we were very much in inner cities. My parents were working extraordinarily hard to support a very large family, but we all had aspirations. We all had a dream that we could be better and that we could achieve things. And I remember talking to my father, God bless him, and he said one of the reasons why he came to the United Kingdom was because he wanted to give his children the opportunities that he had been denied. Right. And I think that's I think is a view that many immigrants will share with wherever they may end up. That they're actually trying to ensure that their children's lives are better than the lives that they had themselves. And once I didn't have any role models. I think one of the things that young people have these days is role models. They can go online, they can even follow them on social media. There's there are plenty around. But back in the day, Raj, you will know, we had none. As a lawyer, I had no role models. I often joke about the fact that my role models were Atticus Finch, Nelson Mandela, Mahatma Gandhi, and obviously one of them was fictional, the other had been murdered, and the third was in prison at the time. But they were the only lawyers I knew. They were the only people that I'd become aware of that had used law as a tool for change. And so it persuaded me that's the career I wanted. There were battles royal. When you go to a university where you're pretty much the only brown face doing that particular course, it didn't really bother me, but it was just blatantly obvious. But it's much easier now. I mean, now if you go to most universities globally, you will find a much more diverse mix of people from diverse backgrounds, and also from people of color, etc. And I think that was something that I wasn't mindful of, but it was evidently something there. And when we moved into the legal profession, as I did, again, there are major obstacles placed in your way because of your background. You didn't go to the right school, you didn't go to the right university, you don't know the right people. So it means you have to work harder, I imagine, than people around you. But I mean, I was very fortunate. I was able to do that, and quickly, as you say, went through the ranks, and I was first non-white chief prosecutor the United Kingdom ever produced. That was more than 20 years ago. And then I had the opportunity in London to take on types of cases that others would never have had the opportunity to take on. I also made it very clear that I wanted to look at the hard stuff. The easy stuff does not challenge me. Let other people do the easy stuff. What's the stuff that's really hard? What's the stuff that perhaps we've been shying away from dealing with? So honor-based abuse, violence against women and girls, child sexual abuse, all things that are now very much in people's radar. But maybe 15 years ago, it was something that people thought, oh my God, put it in the too difficult tray, put it in the filing cabinet, ignore it. But it was also important for me, Raj, to generate the next generation. So I was really keen to mentor people. 6 of the 13 current chief prosecutors in the UK are people that I mentored. It's important to coach people. It's important to manage talent and identify talent. And so I did all of that, and also networking is really important. So I created the first ever Law Society Black and Asian lawyer network. Similarly, within the Crown Prosecution Service, it was really important that we get to talk to each other, share stories, and also opportunities. And then when I left prosecuting in 2015, by that time, I'd done 25 years of it, I decided that what I wanted to do was to do more of the stuff that makes a difference. And so I was national advisor to the Welsh government on gender-based abuse. I was the chief executive, the first non-white chief executive of the country's police commissioners. And I moved into a substantial number of other roles. But currently I am the Chancellor of the University of Manchester, which I'm very, very proud of. Manchester University is the largest one-site university in the UK, has 44,000 students, 30,000 staff, 550,000 alumni. And one of the first emails I got as Chancellor was from the Prime Minister of Sudan, who's a Manchester alumni, and they're in 190 countries. And 25 Nobel Prizes. And of course, this year is our bicentenary. Manchester University is 200 years old. And so I'm very proud of that association. I'm also proud of my role as chair of the Catholic Churches Regulator, which is something I've created for the church to help them improve safeguarding. So wherever I go, it's about making a difference. And that's something that I've chosen to do. And of course, my work with Bikal and is absolutely key here. Because I always go out of my comfort zone, and if somebody said to me that I'd be working with Bikal on AI and data centers 3 or 4 years ago, I would have told them, "What the hell are you talking about?" But it's because we know that technology is the future. It's not the future; it's the now. We also know that artificial intelligence is the future, and it's the now. And so, unless we prepare for this, we are going to be left behind, and we don't want to be left behind. And so when you talk about the role of universities, which is, I think, critical to the conversation we're having, globally, Manchester University is 28th globally. There are universities now pretty much everywhere. Students are no longer want to just live and work in the same town or village. Back in the day, you never left your town. You never left your village. Now people don't care. They can get on a plane. They can be in Dubai. They can be in Singapore. They can be wherever they want to be. And the universities are open to international students in ways previously they weren't. But also they're looking for innovation. They're looking for people who are creative. They're looking to see if people can take the world to the next level, and it really fills me with joy, actually, that young people seem so engaged in that now. They don't want to sit on their laurels. They don't want to think about. They hopefully are learning from our experiences. The fact that we had to work as hard as we did, but that's only because we were able, I think, to provide a platform for young people to do even more.
Sure. So no, I mean, so the good thing is about, obviously, which I think is important. The aspiration you had wasn't motivated by money, right? You had something more intrinsic as part of that. So how did that evolve?
100%. I'm not in the slightest bit interested in money. We all need a roof over our heads. We need food on our table. But it's about impact. It's about difference. Where can you make the greatest difference? And if somebody comes to me and says, look, we've got an idea, and as because our crew did, we've got an idea and we could do with your support. First thing you have to do is you have to bring yourself up to speed with whatever area that an organization might be working in, to see if you can add value. There's no point doing something if you don't feel able to add value. The second thing is to recognize that you can build collaborative relationships. Going back to my point about networking, talking to you, Raj, and Chris and others, brought me up, and Lord Carlisle brought me up to speed on areas that perhaps I wasn't familiar with. It's so much easier to do the research now than it was previously. And your connections, everybody's connections are available to you. What it is, it's about, as I said, the world of artificial intelligence and data centers is the now. We often talk about 5-year, 10-year strategies, and we should do. Of course, we must do. But really, right now, young people and society generally has to make best use of technology. Otherwise, you'll be left behind.
Yeah. So obviously we're doing this project with the Ministry of Justice of Uzbekistan, and one of the developers is based in Tashkent. He's obviously a bit more qualified, and he's had the help of two chaps in Fergana Valley in Uzbekistan, right? Whose airport. Yeah, who's
the world is a small place now, literally. I mean, I was in Gibraltar at the weekend, never been before. You can go on a flight for 3 hours. You can go and meet the chief minister, which I did. You can come back, and you can and you can do all of that. And of course, the virtual world, the world that we're in right now, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, before COVID, we didn't do much of this. But now there's no excuse. Literally, you can be talking to somebody, 20 people around the world in minutes. So there's no excuse now for not engaging.
And so what councils are doing now, they understand the whole thing. The word brain drain has been used a lot, because you've got places like, we're also working in Chandigarh and in Punjab, where a lot of the kids are going to Canada as a default almost. But we've hired a couple of kids in IIT Ropar there as well, so they're doing work for us. There's a couple of girls in the first year students in GNA University who are going to do cybersecurity work. So the aspirations are still there. I think there are solid aspirations where people want to stay with friends and family. But if you talk a little bit, which might be a delicate subject, but the women, some of these cultures, young ladies, they get married, arranged marriages early, whatever. We still want to give them opportunities so they can code from home and
Raj, there's nothing delicate about it. 51% of the world's population is female, it's women. And I remember having a conversation with one particular community in London, and a large number of their women and girls were not in education. They've left education at 16 and got into marriage and family and that kind of thing. And I said to them, I repeat it over and over again, that actually that's the greatest disservice you can do to your community, because you're losing all of that talent and that ability and that potential. And so your community is not growing as fast as it could. It's not developing as fast as it could. Your GDP, for want of a better term, is not as high as it could be. There's a massive business case, never mind a moral, legal and ethical case, for ensuring that women have the same equal rights as men and the opportunities that men have. We have you often see women in positions of power and responsibility around the world, but there are still very few of them. It's still a man's world, as I think the song goes. And I think it's important to recognize that, we all benefit. Somebody said to me, a man said to me, if I, allow my women and girls to progress up the ranks, that we will lose position. We will lose power, he said. And I said, actually, sharing power means it increases. And so the reality is that none of that argument that men should progress and women should stay in the home stands up. And any culture and community, which I think I've called out over and over again over the years, that prevents women and girls from progressing and allows women and girls to be abused, for example, is one that is doing not only damaging the children or the young people that they are affecting, but also damaging the whole community. And it's about, how do you progress? How do you develop? Do you really want to be left behind in the global world that we are in? And the times when I'm sitting down with a woman or a girl in a particular role who's new in that role, and I listen to them and I think, wow, what potential, what knowledge and talent and ability. And maybe a few months ago she would have never got that opportunity, which is why the work that you do, Bikal, in ensuring that young women are treated fairly and equally and given potential and given opportunities is so important.
Yeah, I mean, the good thing is, like Uzbekistan, UAE, even Saudi, I think there's a lot of money going into education. I think it's like something like 60-70% of the IT grads in the UAE are actual girls and women, right? So there's not a problem. I'm saying what we're able to do is localize a lot of that. So now it's a laptop at home, and you can still,
contribute.
And perhaps you could, the family.
Yeah, that's really important. The world has changed now. Hybrid working is as common now as as drinking a cup of tea or coffee. It wasn't before, and very large employers, businesses that are very successful, have turned around and said, we don't need you in the office 5 days a week. In fact, we may not need you at all in the office, because you'd be more productive at home using Wi-Fi, using your laptop, your computer. You can contribute more. And so businesses have thought that through, and now we see the business case for doing so. And that, of course, really helps people in parts of the world that previously would not have had the opportunity to progress, who didn't have global companies on their doorstep, because now the world is smaller. You can be in Uzbekistan, you can be in some other part of the world and contribute to an organization that's not based there. That, I think, is a real plus.
Yeah. So as a sort of final bit, you're slightly older than me, slightly, and obviously we've got Chris Miller and obviously Lord Carlisle, who are part of the group as well. And obviously, you sort of help myself and then fellow directors in terms of obviously growing and thinking about the right things. But all three of you have great energy. You have your own still aspiration for certain things. So, how does that aspiration, like you sort of touched on it before, why does that keep? Will you keep going until you're being carried away, or? Oh
no. Look, I can learn. Chris and Lord Carlisle I've known in different capacities and different roles for many, many years, but I'm still learning from them. And I hope that they're learning from me. And I think that is something that people tend to ignore, that they don't realize that learning is a lifetime opportunity. It's not just, between 16 and 18 and 20, 18 and 21, whatever it is, maybe if you do a postgraduate, you can learn so much more from these individuals. And I think as a force, with LAHB, we can only get stronger, I hope, inshallah, as they say, because the talent that you've got around you, the people that work with you, the connections that you've been able to develop, people that we've met, networks that we've engaged with, are second to none. The passion of the individuals working in this field rubs off on you. When I was in Sharjah a couple of months ago with you, I was blown away by the young talent that you have around you, and I thought, wow, my God, we're so fortunate. And so, from my perspective, you kindly said I'm a little bit older than you, but what keeps you young is the young people around you, and the motivation and talent, and the more that and you get so much out of them.
Yes, and your future plans, you're diversifying into a few different things. So you've got some.
Absolutely. I mean, all opportunities that we will look for. I'm really keen to work in Uzbekistan and other nation states, because to my mind, we can't just be parochial and think about the local. We must think about the global.
Sure. So next visit, Naz, will be in Tashkent in Uzbekistan. We'll line up a couple of meetings for you for that.
I look forward to that.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.